One of the main points that was reiterated to me over and over again, not just in Highbridge, but throughout the South Bronx. People are concerned that this type of attention is going to attract outsiders and developers and lead to rising rent and gentrification in the area.
What does it take to get a more in-depth look into the week's top local news story? The Debrief brings you inside for a one-on-one conversation with our reporters. Every week, right here, right now. The Debrief. Doesn't take much to get a New Yorker's opinion on something. Certainly doesn't take much for them to debate something. And so we spotted an issue that's been kind of playing out, and we said for the Debrief, we need to dig into it. It's kind of cool, kind of pop culture-ish, but it is definitely New York. Hello, everyone. This is David Ushery with you on this week's Debrief, and we're happy to welcome Jesse Vad, who's been doing some reporting for Gothamist.com, and they are known for kind of getting deep into the New York City streets to cover stories. And Jesse, we welcome you because you've been covering this that's been bubbling up in the Bronx about a staircase and a hit movie out. So I'm just going to let you bring us up to speed first on this story that we said it's too good to pass up.
Sure, thank you for having me. So basically the story is there's this staircase in the South Bronx, and it was featured in the new Joker movie. The scene that was filmed there was Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker dancing down these steps, and it's become kind of an iconic scene. The movie was released on October 4th, and it didn't take long for people to find out where that location was. Ever since it was released, every day people are flocking to this area to take pictures, mostly for Instagram, it seems. The stairs actually have their own Instagram hashtag now. It's hashtag JokerStairs. My angle of the piece was actually looking more at some of the residents of the area who are kind of frustrated and upset with all this attention and foot traffic.
So this is a narrative that can sometime emerge in New York City because it is a draw for people around the world, and certainly it's iconic locations or these ones that become famous. But then the people who live there say, sometimes, what about us? So you kind of went on a little listening tour with the people who live there.
Exactly.
This is, and just so people who are familiar, this is in the Highbridge section,
That's right?
And it's this long staircase that connects Shakespeare.
Yep, and Anderson.
And Anderson, all right. So what were people telling you who lived there?
So there was a range of opinions. From the people who were feeling frustrated about this, there were kind of three things that were affecting that. Firstly was the usage of the stairs. Basically just, at certain times of day it's getting really crowded. You kind of have to push and shove your way to get anywhere up and down these stairs. It's kind of one of those things where people are coming home with groceries and they're having trouble getting up and down. People want to go to pick up their kids from school, and so that has become an annoyance for some. Interesting
point. This is a heavily traveled, this is not some remote stairway in the Bronx. Oftentimes this is the fastest way to get to the subway or get around the borough.
It's been there for decades. It's a staple area of that neighborhood. Another thing that people were mentioning was the picture taking. I mean, there's basically constantly photo shoots happening now on this staircase, and some residents don't feel comfortable being in random people's pictures. Right. So I was told that some people have stopped using the staircase because they're just uncomfortable with that. And then lastly, one of the main points that was reiterated to me over and over again, not just in Highbridge, but throughout the South Bronx. People are concerned that this type of attention is going to attract outsiders and developers and lead to rising rent and gentrification in the area.
Interesting. So that gets to a deeper role. Some residents have said, look, we get maybe sometimes harassed or were harassed in recent years for either hanging out on those steps or being there. Tourists can come and go as they please.
Yeah, exactly. That was a point that was also made by multiple people to me. I spoke to one guy who was really impassioned about it, really upset, and his explanation as to why was that his neighborhood, Highbridge, has essentially been ignored and neglected and unsupported. And now all of a sudden there's a tension here, and he doesn't feel respected by that. He feels that this type of attention and the reason behind it is not genuine and is probably fleeting. And so he felt disrespected because of that, and he wasn't the only one who shared that type of opinion.
I thought the borough president, Ruben Diaz, told you something interesting. What was that?
Yeah, so I reached out to Ruben Diaz Jr.'s office, and they basically at that point said, we've spoken about this on Twitter, that's our stance on it, and their stance was, look, if tourists are coming to the Bronx, we just hope they're spending money in local businesses. Since then, he has, I know, gone to visit the steps. I haven't seen that piece, so I don't know what else he said on it, but I'm sure he's added to it.
And so, Jesse, this has kind of resonated with a number of people, including elected officials, right? We're seeing a published report where Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had some comments about it, saying that when she was growing up, she was told to stay away from those steps or go with a friend, right? So, and then it seems like the Bronx is safer now. She says she's happy to say that, but she'd be happier if tourists didn't take their selfie sticks to her home borough. She says, I think a lot of us feel that, listen, keep your Instagram posts outside of the boogie down. This is for us. Wow, that's pretty proprietary, right?
Yeah, there you go.
The borough president, a little bit grander, trying to use it as a boost for the Bronx.
Right. Seemed not to touch so much on the conflict.
Okay, all right. So it's just one of those issues, and that's why we feel it's just one of those issues that are debatable in New York.
Yep, there you go. I mean, look, AOC basically just reiterated everything that I heard from these concerned residents. And so you can tell that it's a big perspective. It's not just a few people that feel this way.
Yeah. I guess Mehdi's saying if the attention comes and it brings some other degrees of positivity, then maybe we could revisit it.
Definitely.
As you know, when you post as a reporter, there are comments below, and when we started reading those, we were struck by those. A whole different take where people saying, like, come on, residents, get over it.
That's right. I was a little shocked by that, too. I wasn't expecting quite the outrage, but I guess that's New York for you.
Yeah.
I think, it's a valid point of view. These aren't my opinions. These are the people who live there. And I thought that perspective deserved to be heard. I didn't see it being told in any other coverage of this story, and I thought it was a valid perspective that deserved to be heard.
Definitely good voice, and again, it points to some residents fearing concern now that all this attention comes, and the next thing you know, as has happened in other parts or happening in other parts of the Bronx, gentrification, which kind of always affects the residents who've been there for a long time in a particular way.
Right.
Interesting story, interesting slice of life. But before you go, I wanted to talk a little bit about you because we're meeting you here on our Debrief podcast, and I think you've taken an interesting path here as a reporter. Not raised here, career change. Just tell me a little bit about you.
I'm from Bay Area in California. I think of New Orleans as home. That's where I went to part of undergrad, and I've been there for the past 7 years. I was an elementary school teacher for about the last 5 years. But I was always obsessed with telling stories on the side. I was always doing that in my own time, and I decided to get serious about it. So I got accepted to CUNY Newmark Graduate School of Journalism here in New York City, and this is my first semester. This is my first time reporting. This is my first time being in the journalism world. And you are first timing it in some great storytelling places. You also write for the Mott Haven Herald, that's right. Mott Haven Herald here. So here's a part of the Bronx. Some say the most impoverished in some areas. What's that experience been like for you? It's been actually amazing. The South Bronx is a beautiful, incredible place, and I really have been, the people there have taken me in. The communities there have taken me in. There's unbelievable stories that need to be heard from the South Bronx, and I feel really privileged and lucky to actually be reporting from that neighborhood. Wow. So from the Bay to the Big Easy to the Boogie Down. Jesse Vad. That's right. Well, look, we're going to need you back here on the Debrief with some of these interesting stories. Anytime. Thanks for bringing this slice of life to us. I want to thank our production team, Jesse Edwards, Harrison Choi, and Ben Berkowitz from the NBC New York Digital team. I'm your host, David Ushery, coming to you as always from our busy newsroom. We'll check you next time.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching this video from NBC4 New York. You can stay up to date by hitting the subscribe button below me. Also on the left, you can see some of our latest updates, investigations, and features. We'll see you next time.